Three. Hello, everyone. My name is Saressa Hartwell. I'm with the State Water Resources Control Board. I'll be facilitating today. We welcome all the attendees to the California Financing Coordinating Committee's Fall Funding Fair. As I was saying before, we have lots of information to present to you about the opportunities to have your community's projects funded through the various agencies. Today's overview is we're going to have presentations and then we'll have a break. And then we'll have evaluations, and that is where we want to understand your experience today at this funding fair. We really appreciate it if you would take that evaluation. We use that information to improve on our funding fairs. Then we'll have virtual booths, otherwise known as breakout rooms, at the end of the last presentation. You can go in, that's where you'll have the opportunity to go speak to those representatives that you heard today, agency representatives today, to ask your questions, because during the funding fair, there won't be any questions and answer after each presentation. I highly recommend that you go inside the breakout rooms. This is today's agenda. The agenda and other information will be available on the CFCC website. We will have a brief demonstration of how to navigate that later on in this morning's presentations. We're going to begin with the federal agencies, and yes, we have a member from the federal government who is not furloughed, who's actually here today to present to you their funding opportunities. Then we're going to start with our state and local agencies. We'll have a small break, and then we'll conclude with the state and local agencies, and then we'll have the evaluations, and then the breakout rooms will open up. As I open up the breakout room, that's when all the representatives, agency representatives will go in there and set up for you. So that's the great time for you all to take the evaluation and allow them time to set up the rooms for you. Speaking of the virtual booths, at the bottom of your screen, when the booths are open up, you'll see this 4 boxes at the bottom of your screen. If you do not see that at the bottom of your screen, then hit the More button and you will find it under the More button. Right now, I would like to take a poll to get a sense of people who are here today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open up the poll. I'll give you a few moments to take the poll so we understand who's here and what your needs are. For some of the questions where there's other, we would really appreciate it if you write other, especially on number 2, where you heard about the funding fair, and under number 3, what types of funding you're looking for. I see we have a lot of repeats, but I'm so glad even though you've been here before, you decided to come again. We really appreciate that because it's good to do that because sometimes we have different agencies presenting, other times agency has new information they want to present. So it's always a good thing to, even if you've been here before, to come back. And for those who are representing a tribe, we have a lot of great information about um, funding opportunities for tribes. And if you are representing an underserved community, again, we have a lot of information for you as well. So I am the CFCC is pleased that you're here. Again, in the chat, please put in um, the answers to other. there are people in the waiting room who are in there, so give them an opportunity to come in and take the poll. If you just entered the room, we welcome you to the CFCC Funding Fair. I'm Saressa, and I'll be doing the facilitating of today. And right now, we're taking a poll of who's here and what your needs are. I'll give it a few more minutes. And when I stop seeing the bar slide back and forth, I'll end the poll and we can continue on with today's information. For those who are joining right now, again, we're taking a poll about who's here and the purpose of you coming here today to the funding fair. So if you want to take a moment and take the poll, that would be great. Well, I see that the information is no longer presented, so I'll end the poll right now. Again, I thank those who took it. I hope that the information that you are here to hear are here that you can hear today. So let me end the poll. Continue sharing my screen. So the contents of today's information, the access to the agenda, the handbook, and the presentations, and a recording will be available on the CFCC website, and that's at www.cfcc.ca.gov. And at this time, we're going to have Gabriel Edwards from the Department of Water Resources give you a brief demonstration on how to navigate that website. So let me stop sharing and allow Gabe to. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarissa. Great. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. As Sarissa mentioned, my name is Gabriel Edwards. I'm from the Department of Water Resources. You'll hear from me in a second when I talk about some DWR specific funding, but just want to give you all a quick overview of the CFCC website, which Sarissa was just mentioning. Again, this is www.cfcc.ca.gov. There's a couple things that I just want people to be aware of. Number one, like there's a couple limitations with the Zoom platform we're using today for the funding fair. Security reasons, like we can't copy chats, like download chats. We don't collect emails for people that are joining because this is a free funding fair that's open to everyone. So I know you provided emails when you registered, but there's some people who joined today who maybe didn't go through that registration process, got forwarded the meeting. So we don't have everyone's email in this call today. All the information that's relevant for like these funding opportunities, it's all on the CFCC website. So copies of the presentations from all the agencies, most of them are up there. There's a couple that are missing, but we're working on getting those uploaded. They'll be uploaded soon within the next week or two. There's also the CFCC handbook, which has, again, information on all the funding opportunities that are being presented today, as well as contact information from the agencies. There's a lot of good stuff here on this website. So I just want to show you all what it looks like really quick and highlight like two specific places you can find some of this stuff. This is the main homepage of the website. Quick links here. This box on the left is the most helpful space to find most of these things. So again, there's a link to our Fall Funding Fairs handbook. If you haven't used this or haven't seen this before, this is what it looks like. This is just a big PDF document. It talks a little bit about the background of the CFCC, and then it has a list of all of the participating agencies. So you can scroll down or click on these to go to any of the agencies. I'll use DWR as an example. It just has some information about DWR, has links to websites to contact whatever agency you're looking at. And then for each agency, there's a table. This has the current available funding opportunities, basically what we're presenting on today for each of these agencies with like links to that funding program's website, a little brief blurb about like what the funding is for, any special conditions, things like that, contact info for those specific funding programs, and again, like QR code just to go to that website. So this is all available in the handbook. It's a really good resource. If you haven't used it yet, I'd recommend taking a look at it. And also, if you have any feedback on it, feel free to reach out or fill it out in the poll at the end, because we're trying to make this a better resource for everyone to find funding that they're interested in. So yeah, again, use that table. Hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully it helps you find the information you need. Again, quick links here. So that was the handbook. We also have a funding inquiry form. If you open this up, there's a Word version and a PDF version. This is what it looks like. This is basically for if you have a particular project that you're looking for funding for, you can fill out this form, and there's instructions at the top. Basically, you're putting in some of your contact information, some information about your project, or like the problem that you're trying to find funding to solve. And then at the bottom, there's contact information so that we can get in touch with you. You fill out this form, email it to ibank@ibank.ca.gov, and iBank distributes this to all the participating CFCC agencies, who will review your inquiry, see if they have funding that might be applicable, and then get in touch with you if that's the case, or to let you know if there's other places that you might want to check out. So this is a helpful resource if you have a particular project that you're looking for funding for. And then the last couple things that I wanted to mention are we have a link to the California Grants Portal and the Federal Grants Portal here, as well as a couple presentations. So these are recordings. They're just on YouTube, so you can click on them and open them up. These are recordings from previous CFCC funding fairs. I'm not going to go through these right now, but this is the one on the California Grants Portal and then one on the Federal Grants Portal. We're going to have David White here today to actually give this presentation on the Federal Grants Portal. But if you haven't heard of or used the California Grants Portal, I'd recommend taking a look at this recording. It's about 9 minutes long, and it goes over this California Grants Portal website. This is basically, it's managed by the California State Library. It's a centralized location to find state grant opportunities. So that includes all state grants that are offered on a competitive or first come, first served basis. It also includes loan and federal assistance funds. And then kind of similarly, the Federal Grants Portal, which David will go over in a second, is a centralized location for grant seekers that are trying to find and apply for federal funding. Bit of a disclaimer with this, with the current lapse in federal government funding, the federal government shutdown, the information on this might be a bit out of date, so your mileage may vary. There are fewer federal staff on the back end who are able to maintain and update this Federal Grants Portal at the moment. So I just want to give you all a heads up. Again, David from Reclamation will be giving a little presentation about this in a second. But all of these things are on the CFCC website, linked under quick links here. I saw in the chat, I think there was a question about the recording from today. Recordings for these funding fairs will be posted here as well on the homepage under previous CFCC funding fair videos. So you'll be able to come back and review this or hear the presentations from today. And then the other spot I wanted to point out is if you go to funding fairs, this tab at the top, and scroll down to the bottom, here are the copies of all the slide presentations. So again, if you're looking for this information, if you're trying to find it afterwards, you can find copies here. Almost every presentation from today has been uploaded here. There's a couple that we're going to be reviewing and uploading in the next few weeks. But this is where you can find this information. Michaela from DWR has been posting the CFCC website in the chat, but if anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to reach out. And yeah, really good resource. Hopefully lots of helpful information here to help you find what you need. And we're going to be continuing to update this after these funding fairs. So yeah, that's it for me for now. Thank you all so much, and looking forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you, Gabe. You did such a wonderful job of showing how to navigate the CFCC website. Again, as he was saying, it's a great resource to find information about what's out there. There's other tabs under other funding sources that you might find interesting too. So I always try to encourage those to go to the website. So now that you know where the content of today's information will be located, this is where we're going to start with our presentation. So I'll stop sharing and let our first presenter start. Our first presenter is David, I believe.
I believe you are
Okay.
correct.
I was thinking, ooh, let me. Okay.
All right. Can you see this? Oh, okay.
Ye- Yes, we can.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is David White. I work for the United States Department of the Interior Bureau of Reclamation, and my office is located here in Sacramento, California. Today, I'm going to give two different presentations. One is using grants.gov to try to find federal opportunities for funding, and the second will be specific for reclamation about getting federal funding for water conservation activities. Everything that I'm going to talk about is available in the handbook and online. If you have any questions, I will be in the breakout room and I will be available by email. Grants.gov. Historically, most federal agencies have used grants.gov to notify the public of federal funding opportunities through that particular federal agency. So today we're going to talk about three different things: understanding the federal funding agency, how to search and apply on grants.gov, and then a few tips. Federal funding agencies, federal agencies use funding to try to um, implement their mission and their priorities. No surprise, missions may seem to stay the same year after year, but priorities do change. Nothing wrong with that. We're going through it right now. And sometimes the federal agencies use grants.gov to notify and to federal funding, and sometimes they don't. But anyway, as you understand each federal agency's mission and priorities, it gives you a better idea of if you have any projects that might be eligible and competitive to get federal funding. You can find out about an agency's missions and priorities from their websites, as well as other forward-facing documents, including previous federal funding opportunities. Grants.gov is a great way to figure out if there is federal funding that might be applicable for a project that you're considering. You can search grant.gov through uh, current opportunities that are open, ones that might be coming down the pike, and then also opportunities that have already closed. Kind of gives you a kind of a historical perspective of what an agency is looking to do. These opportunities have been called different things over the years, from FOAs, FOAs, of opportunity announcements, funding opportunity announcements, to NOFOs, notices of funding opportunities. All the same, it just depends on sometimes who you're talking to. Grants.gov is a huge database. There are built-in tutorials on how to search and how to make it more effective for you. There's online help that you can use. You can do things like have it automatically send you an email notification of a particular opportunity that may be interesting or applicable to you. How do you search? Well, one of the fastest ways is to go up here to the left and decide, do you want to look for something that's open, something that's been recently closed, something that closed a long time ago, archived, or something that's coming down the pike, that's forecasted. You can search many different ways, not just by date, but you can search by agency. You can search by keyword. Can you search by geographical region? No. Why? I don't know. Will you ever be able to? I don't know. But you cannot limit your search to Yolo County or something like that. When you do find something interesting, you can delve deeper into it. There will be an application package that will describe to you the particular funding opportunity, why it's out there, who is eligible, is there a non-federal cost share match, are there any limitations such as NEPA, is it going to be for design, for construction, what's it for? Each NOFO will have a quick, brief synopsis that gives you a lot of important information, such as the application date, who is eligible, all these other things. Inside, you're going to have criteria. You need to understand this is how the federal agency, through its application review committee, is going to figure out whether or not to fund your particular application. Best advice is to answer the question directly. And then if you want to, you can add more information. So once you work on it, you can do it online. You can do it on paper. It may be better to do it online so that something doesn't get literally lost in the mail. And those application deadlines are hard and accurate. So if it says midnight Eastern time, that's 9 p.m. Pacific. Please keep that in mind. And also, delivery to federal agencies is sometimes limited, physical delivery. So the best thing for you to do is probably work on it online. I'm not going to go through all of this, but there's different workspace forms that you need to that are required. Some are called SF standard forms, and each application will have the forms necessary for you to complete. There's always a point of contact, usually a grants officer who's there, or a program coordinator who's available to answer your questions. Now, in general, we can answer almost any question so long as we don't give you an unfair competitive advantage over any other applicant. Once you submit your application, there's different ways of making sure that you've memorialized your efforts. Some different tips. The earlier you work on something, the better off you'll be. Please read all the instructions and follow them. Fill out those standard forms. Make sure you've got a detailed budget that explains what you're going to do and the basis for that. Have you done something similar before? Did you talk to somebody else who did something similar? How did you come up with those numbers? Keep in mind that we are limited to the four corners of your document. We cannot do any additional research. So what you tell us and how you tell us is the only information we're allowed when we look at your applications. The clearer you are, the more direct you are, the greater the chance of you scoring higher and being funded. Best thing to do is not answer something. Don't leave something blank. Please answer. Best thing to do is answer something. Don't leave it blank. That's it for grants.gov. Now, if I can quickly move over, we're going to talk about reclamation. So, good morning, everyone. My name is David White. I work for the United States Department of the Interior Bureau of Reclamation, based here in California, Sacramento. Reclamation operates in the 17 west-wide states. None of our states border the Mississippi River, so if you can name 17 states west of the Mississippi River that don't touch the Mississippi River, you're going to find reclamation there. We are an agency of the Department of the Interior. Basically, we manage federally owned water assets and all that entails. We're divided in different regions. California covers two different regions because we have two different major rivers that bring water to California, the Colorado River as well as the Sacramento River. And shout out to the American River. Our water conservation team, here's contact information. You're welcome to contact us if you have any questions about water conservation activities and funding. Historically, we funded activities and projects through two different pots. One is local to our region, the California Great Basin region. The other is coming basically from our Denver Federal Center and headquarters. And that's WaterSmart, to sustainably manage America's resources for tomorrow. WaterSmart is an umbrella that includes many different programs that are unique to each other. All that information is available online and in the handout with points of contact. As you go through this, if you have any questions, you can ask us. We'll try to give you a better idea of which program may be more applicable for the project that you're considering. I'll tell you right now, almost every one of these is going to require you to do NEPA before you do any ground disturbing activities. So please keep that in mind when you're doing your budget as well as when you're doing your schedule. If you apply in November, we select you in June, we're not going to be able to do NEPA by August. Most likely not. So please keep that in mind as you go through your application process. In general, we require non-federal cost share, approximately 50%. Usually, our funding is available to almost anybody who has water or power delivery authority. If your particular agency does not, then maybe you could team up with an agency that does, and they could apply on your behalf, such as a school district working with its local water department. All right, so we try to make everything competitive to make it fair. Not going to go through all of these different programs, but that's out there. Application advice is very similar as with grants.gov. Clarity, focus on answering the questions, If for some reason you don't get funded, we can do a debrief where we go through your application with you and try to give you better ideas on how you could have made your application more competitive. But we don't know, because sometimes one year we'll have a lot of applicants and it's very competitive. Other years we don't. So the competitiveness varies from year to year. So it goes. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll be in the break room and I'll be available online. And to answer anybody's questions about the lapse of appropriations, I don't have any updates. So we're lights still on through Friday. We'll see how the weekend goes, but I can talk to you more in the break room. All right. Thanks, everybody. Let's see if I can stop sharing. All right.
Thank you, David, for that. And we always appreciate having the federal government here with us today, even though sometimes they're not available. Thank you again. So our next speaker is going to be Gabriel Edwards, who you met earlier. He's with the Department of Water Resources. He's going to be giving you information about what's available through them. So there you go.
Cool. Thank you, Sarasa. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm back. My name is Gabriel Edwards from the Department of Water Resources. Today, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of DWR's funding programs, our grant programs, and some of our funding resources. So let's get this started. The first thing I want to touch on really quickly is just how to find up-to-date DWR grant program information. So our programs are always subject to change. We have Proposition 4 funding on the horizon, and so that's going to shift things around a bit. The best resource for finding up-to-date information is our grants and loans website, which you can see here on the screen. This website acts as a central hub for DWR grant programs. Importantly, it lists all of our programs that are currently accepting new applications, which is under the open solicitations section. It also has links to individual DWR grant program websites, and it has links to other helpful information like best practices and tips for applying to grant programs. It has a link to the California Grants Portal, which I was sharing earlier, DWR public notices, and other resources as well. So this website is really the best place to get a high-level overview of what grant funding is currently available from DWR. You can also check for our funding information on the California Grants Portal. This has lots of helpful filtering options. You can search for active and forecasted funding opportunities, and that'll give you a list of DWR grant programs, just like the Grants and Loans webpage. Again, if you haven't used this site before, I highly recommend go to the CFCC website, go to that recorded link that's under quick links. That'll give you a good overview of how to navigate the site, how to use it to find the type of information that you're looking for. So before I get to our grant programs, I want to quickly just touch on general eligibility for DWR funding. So generally, our grant applicants must be public or local agencies, so state agencies, cities, counties, local water districts, et cetera, or tribal governments or nonprofits. The big thing is that private individuals and landowners are typically not eligible for DWR grant programs. This isn't always the case, but usually this is true, and we get a lot of inquiries about this, so I just wanted to be upfront with you all. If you're interested in a funding program, you can always check the program guidelines to confirm eligibility requirements, or you can always contact the program directly to confirm eligibility requirements as well. And that's what I'd recommend doing if you're interested in a program. So if you do find a program you're interested in, check the program's website for information on how to submit a proposal. You can either look for how to apply directions, or you can review the program's guidelines with a proposal solicitation package for application instructions, and that will have instructions on proposal requirements, important deadlines, where and how to submit a proposal, and all the information that's required. And if you have questions, again, you can always contact the program directly just to learn more about the application process and any requirements there. Contact information can be found on the program's website. So that's kind of the background of how to find this stuff, how to apply. For our current funding opportunities right now, the Riverine Stewardship Program is DWR's only active funding program, at least today. This program supports fish passage and ecological improvements for streams. So it's pretty narrow focus. There's about 6 million available. Applications are accepted for this until all of these funds have been expended. And eligible applicants include tribes, local public agencies, and certified nonprofits. This program has a geographic limitation, so it's limited to counties within the Association of Bay Area Governments. Also for counties within the Delta Export Service Area and areas outside the Delta that receive water from the State Water Project or the Central Valley Project. by means of diversions from the delta. Projects for this program have to support habitat restoration and green infrastructure designs and solutions that improve water quality and supply. And they have to be consistent with this water code section at 79205.2 to 79205.16. So example projects for this program funds things like habitat restoration and improvement efforts, like gravel injection. You've got fish passage solutions that remove barriers to fish passage, or fish migration, or just otherwise improve fish passage, and then improvements to water conveyance within riverine habitats. So like I said, pretty like narrow scope for this program. This is the only one that we have currently available. So that's it for our current funding opportunities, but I have a little info on Prop 4 that I just wanted to share. The main thing that I want you all to know is that DWR will be posting updates on our public notices page. We have one public notice currently up that lists grant programs which will be distributing Prop 4 funding. I'll go over these on the next slide. Unfortunately, I don't have concrete timelines for this funding to be available today. Prop 4 is going to use an emergency regulation process, and we only found out about this last month, and it's a new procedure for DWR. So we're still working through questions on that emergency rulemaking process and exactly like how it's going to impact our grant programs, impact their timelines, all that kind of stuff. We will be posting public notices as more information becomes available. So continue to check this public notices space for updates. And these public notices also show up on our grants and loans page on the right-hand side. So you can go to that as like the central hub again for all of our grant program, funding program information. This is that list of grant programs that are expecting Prop 4 funding. We've got urban streams, sustainable groundwater management, DSAL, watershed resilience, the flood control subventions program, and the small communities flood risk reduction program. The public notice that I mentioned earlier has links to all of these program websites. So again, I recommend taking a look at that. The public notice also has some other resources listed, and if you want more information, go there to review that stuff and to go check out like each of these individual programs websites. So we also have some additional resources and info on our general DWR website. There's a version of this presentation on the CFCC website, which you can download. It also has links to those DWR resources if you want more info. And if you have any questions about DWR funding, please email funding@water.ca.gov, or please feel free to reach out to me or Leslie Pierce at DWR directly. We'd be happy to help answer any questions or get you in touch with our funding program contacts. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Look forward to speaking with you all in our breakout room at the end of the funding fair. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Gabriel. We really appreciate that information. And as we are going to say all through today's meeting, please visit the CFCC website and please go to the breakout rooms to talk to the agencies there more about your projects. Our next speaker is from iBank, and they'll be presenting right now.
Thank you, Sarasa. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about the California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank, also known as iBank. A lot of you may be familiar with iBank, but I know I get that question a lot sometimes. What is iBank? Where are you located? So hopefully this presentation will give you a brief overview of iBank as a whole, and then we're going to focus a little bit more on the ISERP loan program specifically. This slide deck will be available on the CFCC handbook, and the CFCC handbook are going to be available at the website. After the presentations, please come visit us at the breakout room for any questions you may have. If you want to discuss any specific projects, we'll be there to talk about those with you. So a brief overview on iBank. iBank was created back in 1994 by the state legislature. The main purpose was to provide low-cost financing to eligible borrowers for a wide range of infrastructure projects. We are a state agency. We are housed in the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, also known as GOBIZ. Our current focuses and our mission is very much aligned to the states. We want to be transparent in the work that we do. We are focused on creating and preserving jobs and expanding access to underserved communities, being inclusive and intentional in who and how we can serve the people of California. We also focus on addressing climate change. We're expanding our role in climate financing. In spite of being around since 1994, as I mentioned, it feels like iBank is the state's best kept secret in financing infrastructure projects, but we're working to change that. Here are a few of the iBank core programs. iBank offers a wide range of programs to finance infrastructure and for economic development. And these are all just for the projects in California. The first is the Infrastructure State Revolving Fund, or the ISERF loan program, providing low-cost interest loans to public agencies. Primarily, our borrowers are public local governments, such as counties, cities, water districts, special districts. And a lot of the projects we do are water, wastewater, roads. So those are the kind of the projects that we handle under the ISERF loan program. We also have a climate financing unit called the Catalyst program, and that includes loans for projects that help the state meet its goal for greenhouse gas reduction, water conservation, and environmental preservation. There are a couple of different revenue sources that are helping us do those projects. Currently, funding for high voltage transmission projects is anticipated in early July of 2026. Please visit our website to see more information, and you can also contact the unit manager directly through our website. They are looking at projects, and they're encouraging you to submit projects that you could start analysis on in anticipation of the funds that we're going to get. We also have a small business finance center that provides credit support and other financial assistance to California's small businesses. We work with financial development corporations to provide guarantees for small business loan. That's the flagship program under the Small Business Finance Center. They also have micromanaged microloans. They have, they also do disaster recovery. So there's a lot of different programs under the Small Business Finance Center. There's a platform on our website called the Loan Match platform that can help you evaluate, if your project would be a good fit and for which particular program. There's also the Venture Capital Access Program, and the purpose of that is to create a more inclusive venture capital ecosystem. And then we have a bond financing program, which does the conduit bonds, I'm sorry. So let's focus a little bit on the ISERF loan program, which is our direct loan program. What types of projects are eligible? What project costs are eligible? The ISERF loan can include any cost associated with the project, including design, acquiring, planning, constructing, and consulting costs as well. The key point for the ISERF loans is they must be in the state of California. iBank has approved projects specifically related to SB 1383, landfill projects, organic waste projects, recharge basins, water, wastewater systems, roads, etc. We do, as I mentioned, really most projects are eligible. The one type of project that's not eligible is housing. We can do housing infrastructure, such as connecting of water systems, sewer systems, streetlights, and roads up to the housing development, but we cannot do the housing itself because we've got other state agencies that handle the actual homes and building of the residential areas. We look at cash flow. We want to make sure that the project cash flows. We can also look at projections for these projects. So if you've got Prop 218s in process, you've got rate increases planned, those will all be considered in the projections, and we typically do a lot of loans that are projection based as well. Our loan funds are tax exempt, so we make sure that there's no private activity involved in the project. If there is a component, let's say you're doing an undergrounding project of transmission wires or utility wires, and you've got a section that's maybe going to be handled in the property that's owned by utility companies, a private entity of some sort. As long as there's different ways to handle that particular piece of the project component. Either it can be paid by the private entity itself, it can be paid by the borrower themselves, or in certain circumstances, we can do a taxable loan for small portions of taxable projects as well. There are two types of repayment sources. It's either an enterprise fund project or it's a general fund repayment project. On an enterprise fund repayment project, we structure it to take a pledge on system revenues directly. For a general fund repayment, which includes repayment from sales taxes, measures that you may have in place, we consider those all general fund repayment. We do a leaseback financing. We can use any unencumbered asset as the lease asset, for example, fire stations, community centers, etc. The requirement is that the loan predominantly be for the tangible infrastructure. So though we can finance soft costs, like the costs I mentioned earlier, engineering, design, consulting fees, etc., the project must include the actual building of the project infrastructure itself. The tangible project has to be included in the project loan amount. Loan amounts range from $1 million as a minimum to 65 million max. We can do terms up to 30 years as long as the useful life of the project supports that. Most of the projects we do are 20, 30-year loans. We can also finance 100% of the project. It's not a requirement that the borrower bring in money for the project or have equity injection. But of course, if they want to, that's part of the loan sources. You can have grants, you can pay portions of the project, or we can do 100% financing. Executed reimbursement resolution is a requirement before we take anything to our IBANK board for approval. This also allows soft and hard costs that were expensed prior to the ISERF loan approval to be included in the loan amount. I want to give you a few examples of projects that we've done. As I mentioned earlier, the ISERF eligible borrower can be any subdivision of the state or local government, including departments, agencies, commissions, cities, counties, districts, etc. We can also have JPAs be borrowers under certain circumstances. Nonprofits are also eligible, but they do need the sponsorship of a state public entity. We can talk more about these options in the breakout rooms. I want to highlight a project we did for the city of Watsonville. It was a $6 million project. This was a SB 1383 organics project. The project consisted of a new landfill that included a green and wood waste processing plant, and also the purchase of a landfill compactor. The Encinitas project was a streetscape project. It's a landscape, of all the streets, including crosswalks, raised medians, roundabouts, bike lanes, etc. That was a $20 million project that was, just closed a couple of years ago. There's a project we did for the Tiburon Fire District. It was a $4.3 million project, which included the construction of over 5,000 square feet, two-story fire station. The demolition of the existing older fire station was also included in the project, and that's an eligible cost. For the city of San Diego, we did a $40 million loan to help finance the organics processing project. This was an SB 1383 project, 25,000 square feet intake facility. The project will bring the city into compliance with SB 1383 mandates, which is intended to reduce statewide landfill disposal of organic waste. We're also done a couple of recharge basin projects for Alta Irrigation District. We did the London West Pond project and the Trevor North Pond project, total of $13 million in two projects. The projects entail the construction of a total of 120 acres of recharge facility. The projects will capture more groundwater to mitigate conditions created by drought. And it's looking out into the future to make sure that they're able to tackle drought conditions in the future. Both projects provide groundwater mitigation, flood protection, and water conservation for an underserved community. So, what are some of the benefits of working with iBank and the ISEP loan program? Firstly, you do save time. We conduct a preliminary review and provide feedback before inviting you to apply. Our application process is very streamlined. It's very short applications. Our loan officers work directly with you and provide any technical assistance that you might need during the financing, timeline that you have. We can do 100% financing, as I mentioned. We also have low competitive fixed interest rates for up to 30 years, and the term depends on the useful life of the project. We are AAA rated, and therefore our cost of funds tend to be lower. Our ISEP bonds are AAA rated. We pass those savings on to our borrowers. We also, don't run out of money because we issue bonds when we're getting close to running out of money. And those are the bond monies that we use to finance these projects. Our projects are also first come, first serve. We don't have any scoring mechanisms. So, it's just the first come, first serve. We work very much like a commercial bank. Our process is also comparatively short. Not as short as you would have at a commercial bank, not a 30-day turnaround, but our projects, we can expedite projects and get them done in three months. You can from the initial preliminary review to the closing. Our standard turnaround time is about 5 months. 5 months is the average that I find. Also, you'll be assigned to a loan officer and working with them directly. And one of the things we focus on is also we want to be transparent every step of the way with no surprises. Thank you again for being here. Today, I want to leave you with some information. On the screen there, you can see the iBank website. Please visit our website. We have all our staff reports on our website, all our board documents, everything that's presented to the iBank board is on our website. You can see pictures of the projects that have been financed. So it's a really cool website. It's got landing pages for each of the different programs that we have. We're also in the midst of updating our website and making it even more user-friendly. But it's a pretty good website. The email address there, infrastructureloans@ibank.ca.gov. Please send us any questions you have. It comes directly to me and my loan officers, and we're very happy to call you right away, and we can organize conference calls to talk further. Thank you so much. I hope to see you at the breakout room.
Thank you, Lena. We appreciate that information. It's always nice to know that there is money out there to help those in need. Our next speaker is from the State Water Resources Control Board. They'll be presenting information about what's available through the State Water Board, and there's a lot of open programs right now. If you're speaking, your mic is off. You're on mute.
Thank you, Sarissa. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ibian Rivera, and I work in the Division of Financial Assistance at the State Water Resources Control Board. My presentation today is a very brief introduction to the many grants and loan programs offered. To learn more about each of these programs, we strongly encourage you to visit the CFCC handbook, which, as previous presenters have said, outlines, the who, what, when, where, that sort of information that's key. So thank you. So I'm going to start off with the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021. We have $60 million that will be spread out over 5 years, 2022 through 2026, to the US EPA to support water infrastructure, environmental cleanups, and clean air protections, including 4.3 billion of the federal funding going to California to supplement the state revolving fund, which means there's additional funding for clean water SRF and drinking water SRF programs, funding for the lead service line replacement, and addressing emerging contaminants. Oh, there we go. All right. So the Water Board has several wastewater funding programs that provide funding for planning and construction projects to restore and maintain compliance with the waste discharge requests and national pollutants discharge elimination system permits. Grants are available for projects benefiting small disadvantaged communities, and priority is given to septic to sewer projects. The programs that we have is the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and the Water Recycling Funding Program. And we included 3 pictures of project components: a blow-off valve, air vac, valve cans, low pressure pump station, and a new pipeline. And for the drinking water funding programs that we have for long-term solutions, the State Water Board provides funding for drinking water infrastructure projects needed to achieve or maintain compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act requirements. We have grants and low interest loans available. Priority is given to systems with a failing safer status or projects that involve consolidation of multiple systems. And we have funding for lead service line inventory and replacement. The funding programs include the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, Expedited Drinking Water Grant Funding Program, and the Lead Service Line Funding Program. The Emerging Contaminants Funding Program provides funds towards projects that reduce people's exposure to PFAS substances and other emerging contaminants through their drinking water. The funding source for this program includes the Drinking Water SRF Emerging Contaminant Fund and the Emerging Contaminants in Small Disadvantaged Communities Fund. The State Water Board funds drinking water interim solutions that address urgent drinking water needs. Eligible projects include bottled water, hauled water, well repair, well rehab and replacement, vending machines, point of use devices, emergency interties, or treatment systems. State small water systems and domestic well serving disadvantaged communities and low-income households are eligible. Programs include the Cleanup and Abatement Urgent Drinking Water Needs and the Emergency Drinking Water and Cleanup and Abatement Account. Okay, so so the drinking water funding domestic water wells and households. So this program is administered by the counties and nonprofit organizations. It provides funds to individual households served by a domestic well or a state small water system to address water quality issues. The programs that we have currently available is the Domestic Water Wells and State Smalls program, and then Drinking Water Assistance for Households. On the CFCC handbook, we have direct links to these programs that will assist you. The technical assistance is available to support drinking water and wastewater needs. Examples of project types that TA can assist with includes funding applications, project planning and administration, engineering and environmental services, legal assistance, rate studies, income surveys, capacity building, and emergency response for drinking water only. Priority is given to small disadvantaged communities and in accordance with the drinking water and wastewater funding priorities. Requests are accepted continuously. Assistance will be granted based on capacity and program priorities. We have several site cleanup funding programs. These are grants for the cleanup of a site contaminated by leaking petroleum underground storage tanks where there is no financially responsible party. Grants and loans to assist small business UST owners and operators to come into compliance with UST regulatory requirements by replacing, removing, and upgrading USTs. So these programs that we offer is the Orphan Site Cleanup Fund, SB 445 Site Cleanup Subaccount Program, the SCAP, the removal, replacement, or upgraded underground storage tanks, also known as RUST. The Non-Point Source Program, which funds projects to reduce and mitigate the effects of non-point source pollutants such as sediment, pesticides, and nutrients to waters of the state within priority watersheds. For more information, you should contact your local regional water board or visit the Non-Point Source program webpage for instructions on how to apply. Resources. So all of the programs mentioned today are included in the CFC handbook. The Division of Financial Assistance does contain guidance documents, contact information, and frequently asked questions for the various programs. I also highly encourage you to stay informed. Please sign up for one or more of the State Water Board's email subscription list. Just look for Division of Financial Assistance and then the program that you're interested in. If you're interested in drinking water SRF, you would click on drinking water SRF. And then many of the programs offered by the State Water Board, including Drinking Water SRF, Clean Water SRF, use the Financial Assistance Application Submittal Tool. FAST is a web-based interface that's accessible 24 hours a day. The FAST Help Desk is available Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. If you get stuck or you need some guidance on how to proceed, or you want to talk to somebody in a program, you can feel free to send us an email or give us a call and we'll provide you any information that we can. For general inquiries about any of the funding programs, you can call DFA at 916-327-9978. And when you call, leave your name, phone number, your organization, and repeat it. So on behalf of the State Water Board, Division of Financial Assistance, thank you for your time and attention. And please join us in the virtual booth. We have some program staff representing various programs who will be there to assist you. If we don't know the answers, we will try to get you in touch with the appropriate people. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Again, as everyone has been saying, we highly encourage you to go into the breakout rooms and ask direct questions, and also to go to the CFCC website where you can get all this information as you can download what presentations you want, or if you want to rehear the recordings of the presentations, you can do that as well. Right now, we're going to have a brief 10-minute break. We're right on time, on schedule. So my computer says 10 a.m. So we'll come back around 10:10 to conclude with the state and local agencies. The first person that's going to be speaking at that time would be from the Strategic Growth Council. So I encourage all to come back. We'll be back at 10:10. Thank you. My computer has 10:09, so you have about a minute before we'll start again. It is 10:10. We are going to be presenting. Our next presenter is going to be presenting soon. So I hope you guys are coming back to finish hearing our state and local agencies finish presenting, and we should be done around 11 o'clock. That's when you can go into the breakout room. Our next presenter is from the Strategic Growth Council. I see she's ready.
Morning, everyone. My name is Adrienne Retz. I am coming to you from the California Strategic Growth Council, also located here in Sacramento. Let me just quickly give you an overview of SGC, or the Strategic Growth Council. We are a 10-member council comprised of 7 state cabinet agencies and 3 publicly appointed members. And we coordinate and work collaboratively across state government, but also with public agencies, communities across the state, and lots of different partners to achieve sustainability, equity, and economic prosperity. We have invested over $4 billion in California's most underserved communities, and we do this through a number of social and physical infrastructure grant programs, as well as some policy initiatives. So we'll be going over some of those today. So first, I'll talk about our Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program, AHSC, then our Factory Built Housing Program, FBH, and then our Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program, or SULC, Transformative Climate Communities, TCC, and Community Resilience Centers, CRC. Like many state agencies, we use a ton of acronyms, so I'll do my best to say each program name without using the acronym. So let's get started by talking a bit about the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program. This was established in 2014, and the primary goal of this program is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we do that by financing projects that include affordable housing, but also transportation, urban greening, energy efficiency, community programming, and more. And this program is funded from the California Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. You may know this as the Cap and Trade program. It was just reauthorized at the state level, and it is now called the Cap and Invest. So formerly Cap and Trade, which you see on the screen, but going forward, it'll be called Cap and Invest. And this program, Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities, gets a continuous appropriation of 20% of that dollar amount. So this is a stable program. We are currently in round 9. And it's one of the largest affordable housing programs, not just in the state, but in the United States. And by creating these holistic affordable developments, we encourage biking, walking, public transit use. We've really been influential in changing development patterns across the state, really to foster these more sustainable communities. Some of the objectives, of course, like we mentioned, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, of course, improving public health, connectivity, active transportation, increasing public transit ridership, and preserving affordable housing for lower income households. We don't do this program alone. We administer this with several other state agencies, including the Department of Housing and Community Development, which you may know as HCD, and the California Air Resources Board, or CARB. We also work with a lot of technical assistance providers to help communities apply for this program. So what does this program fund? It can fund the development itself and the related infrastructure. So we're on the traditional affordable housing side, but also some of the elements that encourage greenhouse gas reduction, like transit, bike parking, urban greening, active transportation programs, car sharing, tenant legal counseling, and more. And just to give you a visual of what a program might look like that would be funded by affordable housing and sustainable communities, you can see there is the affordable housing development itself, but all of the other amenities that make the community itself sustainable. And this program again is in round 9. So we have funded over 22,000 homes across the state, built almost 300 miles of bikeways, and invested again more than $4 billion. And as this is an active round 9 right now, this program dollar amount is about $775 million. So you can see it's quite a large dollar amount each round. So the timeline, I wanted to bring this to your attention because although the applications have closed for this round, we do anticipate announcing awards for this round in December. So it'd be great for you to see what communities have been awarded. And then we will have another round of this program coming soon. So it's a great opportunity for you to check out the guidelines, see what programs will be potentially awarded at our December 10th council meeting, and for you to just learn more about the program generally. Next, I want to touch on quickly the factory-built housing pilot program. This program actually started in 2024. And we were working through some federal opportunities and incentives to encourage the manufacturing of factory-built housing facilities. What we realized is that there was a pretty great need for more of the planning and capacity building and almost like the catalyst to get to this manufacturing facility. So we redesigned this pilot program and just closed the public comment period. So we anticipate that this program will be announced in December. So it's another funding opportunity that is coming very, very soon. Again, factory-built housing means where components of housing are produced at one facility and then brought on site instead of everything being built on the final site itself. Next is our Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program, lovingly known as SALC. This program utilizes funding again through the Cap and Invest system to protect critical agricultural lands that are at risk of conversion, and again trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by conserving those lands. We protect lands to promote smart growth within existing jurisdictions, ensure open space, and support agricultural and tribal food systems, biodiversity, and soil health. And there are a few different project types within SALC. So first, we have planning grants. This really supports development of local land use policies, economic development strategies. We have the acquisition grants, which are acquiring the land itself, and then capacity grants, which really help organizations build up their capacity to get to the acquisition of these lands. Again, because this has continuous appropriated dollars, there is active funding for this program. We did close applications this summer, announced almost all of the awards at our October council meeting, and we'll announce the final awards in December council meeting, much like our Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program. But then we are moving to a rolling application cycle. So please do keep your eyes on this program as there is active funding for it and available funding, and the rolling application period will be starting very soon. To quickly touch on some of our other programs, 2 of which will be funded with Proposition 4 that Gabriel Edwards mentioned earlier in our program, Transformative Climate Communities and Community Resilience Centers. Both of these programs support community-led design of projects, and both are in active comment periods right now. So we've updated the guidelines based on community input. Those are out for your review, available until January. So it's a really good time for you to check out the new guidelines and provide your feedback and comments. The web links will be posted on our website, but you can also just Google SGC space TCC or SGC space CRC to get to that public comment period. If you have any questions, I will be in the breakout rooms at 11, so I look forward to talking with you then.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Like I said, we have a lot of information for underserved communities and tribal, and having affordable housing is something that's very needed in this state right now. Our next speaker is coming from the Rural Community Assistance Corporation. They're going to be presenting information and how they can help you.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shelley Nordham. I'm a senior loan officer with RCAC, and will provide information on our technical assistance and environmental infrastructure loan program today. So Rural Community Assistance Corporation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that operates in 13 Western states and the Pacific Islands. We serve Indigenous and rural communities through training, technical and financial assistance, and advocacy. RCAC has helped rural communities access millions of dollars in grants and loans, and trained thousands of individuals through customized on-site technical assistance and workshops. We understand that infrastructure development can be an extensive project and may present many challenges that rural communities may not have the capacity to take on. Our technical assistance can help maneuver around many of the programs that you've heard about today. I'll highlight a few of the areas where TA may be available to help your community. We have consultants that can help you to apply on the FAST site, or also on the USDA RD Apply site. RCAC provides rate studies to water and wastewater utilities to promote utility sustainability, rate stability, and fairness to ratepayers. Financial analysis assesses real operating costs and presents alternative rate structures for board consideration and adoption. Policy development, we help develop financial, managerial, or operational processes, emergency response plans, vulnerability assessments, O&M manuals, and operations plans. And regional collaboration among rural communities is an innovative way to help small water and or wastewater systems maintain compliance, improve their aging infrastructure, and become financially sustainable over time. In addition to our technical assistance, RCAC provides loans for environmental projects. The next part of the presentation will address financing your project. So water, wastewater, and solid waste projects are eligible projects. They need to be in a rural community with a population less than 50,000. And the system must primarily serve a low-income community. As for borrower eligibility, you can be a nonprofit organization, a government entity, federal or state recognized tribal entity. They're all eligible borrowers. If you have a question about eligibility, contact your loan officer listed at the end of the presentation or ask us in the breakout room. Now I'm going to give you a couple of common loan types. So this public utility district operates an older wastewater treatment plant that is nearing its design capacity. California State Water Resource Control Board committed a total of $10,660,000 in grant funding for improvements to expand and update the treatment plant. In large construction projects, the general contractor typically has 30-day payment terms, but it could take the funder 60 to 90 days to get the reimbursement request reviewed and processed. In these cases, our CAC can provide a bridge loan or a revolving line of credit to pay the general contractor within 30 days, while the utility district awaits grant reimbursement from the state. There are other common grantors like the Department of Water Resources, California Energy Commission, American Rescue Plan Act, to name a few, and we have utilized this loan structure to bridge other projects such as solar installation, park and community facility construction as well. My second example is a municipal water district needed to expand their existing storage capacity. The cost of the tank, installation, and connection was $402,000. Our CAC provided a 6-month interest-only period for the district to complete the connection, followed by a 9.5-year repayment. Another example, I recently funded a loan to a district for the purchase of a parcel of land. The district anticipated an increase in their community's population because that community is kind of transitioning from a seasonal to a year-round residence type of community, and they needed to add a well to their system. We funded the purchase of the parcel and provided a 12-month drawdown period to drill and connect the well. That loan is being amortized over 20 years and secured by real estate. So just as an example. As everybody's doing, I'd like to refer you to the CFCC handbook provided in your materials for loan terms. You can access our application on our website. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me or anyone on our team to discuss your project. I'll be in the breakout room to answer any questions along with one of our technical assistance folks. Thanks.
Thank you for that information. It's always nice to know where you can find funding to help you out in between time. Gap loans are always nice to have. Our next speaker is from the California Rural Water Association, and they too will give you some information how they can help.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Julia Martinez, and I'm from California Rural Water Association. We provide technical assistance to small rural water systems all over the state of California, including on-site education, technical assistance, including rate studies, TMFs, applications for all varieties of funding applications. And we also have a large variety of online resources for our education, as well as a variety of topics that we cover in person, including the certificate reviews, test prep, all that kind of stuff. So we've got a lot of stuff under the CRWA hat. But today I'm here to talk about the Rural Water Financing Agency. So we've got some pretty good new options for funding. As we know, everybody is really in need of funding all across California and really all across all of the rural communities. So the Rural Water Financing Agency is a public agency that is designed to allow the borrowers to kind of bridge their funding options and on a pooled basis to allow a little bit more streamlined projects and a little bit more ease in being able to incorporate the various pots of money that they're eligible for. So this particular program helps with construction financing without a USDA takeout. There is a fixed rate for the term of construction, which is really nice because there's, kind of less surprises along the way. It's really, really streamlined and really efficient. All of the costs are included in the initial loan rate. So like I said, it's really nice to have a few less surprises as you're going through the process, especially as things change, as you're going through the application and as you're going through the actual construction process. Some of the other funding types have kind of some moving parts, and it's nice that this one is fixed. The fixed term program allows for no DWSRF requirement, which is really nice. There's a wide variety of projects, types, and uses. The fixed rate can include 1 to 30 years, and you can have your funding available to you in 60 to 120 days, which is, I'm sure if anybody's been through a application or, sat waiting for funding, 60 days to 120 days is a really quick turnaround to actually have the money available to you. So that's really, really nice. And this particular rural water project has been incorporated so far across 19 rural water associations. So the rural water communities are really, really benefiting
Wow.
from this particular. Yeah, it's really cool, right? So it's really kind of catching some steam with the rural water communities and the various rural water associations across the U.S. It's really becoming an incredibly beneficial tool for the rural communities to have access to. And like I said, currently we're at 19 agencies, but we do predict that it's going to be growing quite a bit as word kind of gets around a little more. It is based, the headquarters is in Kentucky, and it was started in Kentucky and then kind of branched out from there. What's really nice about it is there's two programs. So there is the interim program and then there's the fixed term program. Both are really streamlined. Both are really, really efficient. Like I said, in that turnaround time to get you your money, as well as the documentation required to go through the application process, which a lot of us know there's a lot of documents, there's a lot of stuff to get through, and it can kind of be overwhelming for the agencies. So we're happy to help get all that stuff in order, but it's a lot more simple than some of the other funding applications. So it's really, really nice and kind of takes a little bit of that burden off of the system's shoulders. So it's really, really convenient, especially for these rural water systems that are already doing so much and could, kind of use a break on some of this stuff. So the eligible borrowers are public agencies. Unfortunately for this one, nonprofits are not eligible, regardless of their population. So that's kind of one of the only unfortunates. But the general obligation is supported by the analysis of the governmental agency, which is nice. And then as far as the eligible projects, the government, any governmental type projects, so utilities, cities, counties, special districts, schools, you cannot fund electric only or gas only projects. So there are kind of a few ins and outs of the project. But being able to fund, the special districts and especially the schools, I know a lot of the schools are having, kind of the focus with the lead sampling and so much of the overview that's kind of come to them recently. So it's really, really nice to be able to have this available to them and have it be so much easier than some of the previous funding applications or previous options that were available to them. And as far as it goes, so for the fixed term program, there's a 1 to 30 year maturity. It is a fixed rate. There is, like I said, there's access to the funds in 60 to 120 days. It's a really, really quick turnaround. And there's anticipated market insurances of 1 to 5 or 4 to 5 times per year, kind of just a nice reassurance. As of March of earlier this year, the true interest cost has been estimated at 4.2% for the 15-year term or 4.74% for the 30-year term. And that interest rate is locked in. So it's kind of nice because, again, it's really built to have, kind of fewer surprises as you go through the process, which is nice. There is no reserve fund requirement for the borrower, which is huge. as we're probably all aware, there's not everybody has a lot in their reserves, or they have very little to spare in that fund, and they kind of need that to continue to function. So it's nice to know that there isn't that additional requirement kind of placed on them. And the borrower has access to the Rural Water Fund program reserve, which is currently standing around 26 million. So there's some additional funds kind of built in that they do have access to. As far as the types of projects under the flex term, there's acquisition and construction and improvement. So a huge hat of things that you can do under this particular flex term. Refinancing, interim funding prior to the USDA takeout letter. Like I said, this program is built to kind of build upon other options. So you get to pool your finances, which is really beneficial. So you're not kind of placing too much in one hat at a time. You can match funding, and there is cost overrun. There is no minimum size for the projects, which is really, really great. And there is a max of 30 million. So you could get a lot done for 30 million. So really, really nice. And then, like we said, it's really streamlined, really efficient application process, which we, of course, will help you get through. And then go back to this other one. Really competitive rates. Like I said, I mentioned the 4.70 and the 4.75 on the previous slide. But so for the 2-year rate, it's 4.70. And then the investment rate is roughly 4.2.5. This includes all of the rural water financing costs, which is the underwriting, the bond, counseling, rating. Again, that fixed rate term of debt, so 12 to 30 months on average. And then the average cost on closed loans is about 1.97. So really competitive rates, a huge amount of things that you can accomplish with that 30 million max. And then it's a really, really standardized and consistent loan process. Like I said, it's really built to be user friendly. It's really built to get these things in the hands of these rural communities. And the benefit to borrowers, councils, advisors, USDA, no minimum, no maximum loan amount. That as far as the application. And the interest is capitalized from the loan proceeds. The borrower does not pay interest from the operation. So that's also really big, because there's, as you guess, sometimes the repayment can be an issue. And then repayable without penalty after 6 to 9 months. So if people are able, that's a pretty huge benefit as well. That no penalty option there. And then it also serves as an interest rate hedge for USDA projects. So like I said, that being able to pool your finances and being able to pool your resources is a little bit unique in this particular program, and really, really beneficial to the systems themselves. And then just one more. Here we go. So again, they really streamlined, really, really efficient. It does work with a variety of other programs. Like I said, it's really built to help in case you already have some loans going on, or if you need to pool your resources so that you're not putting too much in one hat. It's really, really, really nice. And like I said, so far it's already in 19 rural water agencies across the U.S. So it's beginning to kind of catch some ground and be a little bit more talked about and more efficient to the rural communities and the rural associations that are helping reach out to these rural communities. So really, really huge benefit, really, really cool program. And then I think that's my time, but like everybody else has said, please refer to the CFCC handbook for any further details, or if you want to look us up. I will be in the break room for further discussions, and we hope to see you guys.
Thank you for that information for the rural community, because I know they really need the help. We appreciate that. Our next speaker is from the California Department of Resources to Recycle and Recovery, known as Cal Recycle. They're going to be talking about what they can do to help you out.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today. I'm trying to get my camera aligned here, and I'll share my screen. Okie dokie. Can everybody see my presentation okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Oops. Let's go back here. Well, hello. My name is Jeff McDaniel. I'm a senior environmental scientist with Cal Recycle. I'm a specialist here and with the Business Assistance and Market Development section within Cal Recycle's division of the circular economy. Thank you very much for having me. Today, I'll provide a high-level overview of Cal Recycle's funding mechanisms, supporting the state's recycling, reuse, repair, and waste prevention infrastructure. Cal Recycle offers competitive funding for infrastructure projects in the form of loans and grants to help California reach its climate change goals and build recycling infrastructure. It is important to note eligibility applicants vary from program to program. But to give you an idea, this is a list of some of the eligible entities. Cal Recycle administers several continuous loan programs, and I'll cover each of these in other slides, but it includes the Recycling Market Development Zone Loan, Greenhouse Gas Reduction, Beverage Container Recycling, and Tire Equipment. Loans are negotiable, but generally 5-year terms and with an interest rate of 4%. Regardless of the loan of interest, if we deem a project as eligible to apply, then the same loan application is utilized. Businesses usually find their way to these programs from many sources, including the example here seen on the left, which is a loan officer contact form that is accessed from our public website, and when submitted, is sent to our team's shared inbox. Eligibility determination is two-tier. It starts with project eligibility, which is conducted by an environmental scientist, and then moves into financial eligibility determined by a loan officer. And I'll try to go over each of these loan programs a little deeper, but in the interest of time, probably not going to get too deep. So with regards to the RMDZ loan, I'm going to go ahead and spit out the acronyms. The RMDZ loan program is there to assist recycling manufacturers to finance machinery, equipment, and ancillary costs to site and expand in California. Recycling manufacturers use waste materials generated in California to make recycled content, intermediate and/or final products. This assists local jurisdictions in complying with local landfill diversion laws and supporting the circular economy. I don't have time to go into the mission and the history and some of these other points, but I'll just state that this RMDZ loan currently has $22 million in the bank ready to loan. And, I just want to encourage you to join my breakout room if you want more details or have questions about eligibility for this program. Cal Recycle also administers the Greenhouse Gas Reduction, GHG loan program, similar to the RMDZ program, except that this program has a narrower focus, which requires quantifiable GHG reduction requirements, and reporting is also required. This program is part of California Climate Investments, a statewide program that puts billions of cap and trade dollars to work. Currently, there's $5.2 million in the bank ready to loan out. Eligible projects include new and expanded organics infrastructure, such as composting and anaerobic digestion facilities, as well as facilities that manufacture glass, fiber, or plastic waste materials into beneficial products. The beverage container recycling loan. Let's see, this program has developed and improved recycling facilities. It helps develop and improve recycling facilities that process empty beverage containers into valuable materials. Eligible projects must focus on California redemption value eligible beverage containers. There have been a number of recent changes to this program, but the overview here is that there's about $30 million in a non-revolving fund, and it expires in 2027. The Tire Equipment Loan Program helps promote and develop alternatives to landfill disposal of used whole tires and used tire components, and to eliminate illegal dumping and unnecessary stockpiling of used tires. This program has $1 million and that has been allocated to the program annually for the next 5 years. As with all of our loans, the loan amount will be determined by loan staff analysis of the loan applicant's overall need, financial capacity, and cash flow ability to repay. Our loan officers utilize what's called the 5 C's of credit outlined here. It includes character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. If you are interested in diving deeper into the 5 C's of credit and other requirements that the loan officers look at when determining loan eligibility, I'm happy to connect you with a loan officer. As mentioned, loan approval is a 2-step process involving project and loan eligibility, where we collect necessary information and make determinations. From there, you can see on the screen the other steps to obtaining funding. Just want to make a note that because we are not a bank, we do not have the same timeline and it's a little bit more involved. Moving into grants, CalRecycle administers several grant programs aimed at boosting state infrastructure, including the Reusable Beverage Container Infrastructure Grant, Beverage Container Redemption Innovation Grant, and increased recycling of empty glass beverage containers. Let's see here. The Reusable Beverage Container Infrastructure Program provides infrastructure and startup costs for establishing a bottle washer processor for glass reusable containers. There is $23,750,000 available in this for this fiscal year, and I'm happy to share eligible costs in the breakout room. The Beverage Container Redemption Innovation Grant helps pay startup costs and recycling programs limited to recycling centers, mobile recycling, reverse vending machines, and drop bag programs, with the goal of increasing CRV redemption. There's currently $40 million available for dealer cooperative entities. Additional funding for other entities will open in 2026. So lastly, the increased recycling of empty beverage container grant program is there to recycle more glass beverage containers, and funds regional pilot programs that supply bins for collecting empty glass beverage containers from restaurants and on-sale retail licensed establishments, with the goal of increasing recycling of glass beverage containers. There's currently $4 million available for funding each fiscal year. All right, here's the business assistance and market development section contacts. Most questions for us should go to the Biz Assist email, and but if you want to get a hold of someone specific, that's fine too. And here is the email to the beverage container grants email for any of those beverage container grants that I was pointing out. I'd encourage you to stay up to date and follow links If you want to follow any updates from CalRecycle, there's a website here where you can stay updated on the plethora of programs put on by CalRecycle. Thanks very much.
Thank you for that information. Recycling is something that we need to continue to do, and CalRecycle can help us do that. We have one last speaker from the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, and after that, we'll have the evaluation and then the breakout room. So let's hear from our last speaker from the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Kelly, and thank you again for welcoming the Stream Heat and Community Resilience Program. Our program is relatively new. It began 2 years ago with deep listening sessions across the state to understand how communities were experiencing extreme heat and what they needed to protect their families. So today I'll share a little bit about the results from our round 1 and what's coming next in our round 2. So first, a little bit of background. The Extreme Heat and Community Resilience Program sits within the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, and we are based here in Sacramento. On the policy side, we have 2 portfolios, the policy side and the grant side of things. On the policy side, we are working with partners with CNRA, and we had to update the state's extreme heat action plan. And we are also testing and deploying the Cal Heat Score warning system for the state. If you have any questions about the Extreme Heat Action Plan or the Cal Heat Score tool, please contact my colleague, Catherine Foster. Their email is here on the slide. She will be your main point of contact if you have any interest or desire to get yourself involved with these 2 massive projects for the state. And what I lead is the grant portfolio. We have round 1, which is already being executed. Our grantees started their contracts this summer, and we are now preparing to start and launch round 2. So in round 1, we distributed $32 million across 45 grants in 23 counties. A full description of each project is available on our program website, which is listed here. And just to make sure that I respond to the request today, for round 2, we have at least $22.5 million allocated for the program. So we're really proud and honored that our Extreme Heat Grant focus program will be continuing it for another round. As you can see, we are also being appointed to use Greenhouse Reduction Fund and Proposition 4 funding. One of the reasons why we are being delayed is because we're still waiting for Proposition 4 rules and requirements in order to launch round 2 of our program. So for our eligible applicants, we are open to receiving applications from community-based organizations, local and regional public entities, public academic institutions, as well as California Native American tribes. As to what we fund, for this round of the program, we have 3 values that we hope to answer to. The first one is harm reduction. This is in our DNA, and what by law we are required to cover solutions that reduce heat-related illness and death. Because we want to make sure that the experiences of those that are most vulnerable to the impacts of extreme heat are at the core of solutions presented and funded by this program, we are requiring that partnerships be part of this process. And lastly, we have transformation. We want to make sure that because our grants are focused on infrastructure, they also focus on the social aspects that make great solutions to extreme heat. So if you feel like you have an idea for extreme heat and you're all about harm reduction, all about partnerships and transformation, I think you are eligible to apply to our program, and I will be very excited to hear from you or your ideas later on. So we have two project types that we fund. The first is the early transformative infrastructure. What that means is for projects that are still early in their thinking on extreme heat, so they are focused on planning. But because this is about infrastructure, we do require that these planning projects come with a demonstration project. Partnerships are required, however, tribes are exempt from that. The second project type that we are funding are advanced transformative infrastructure. Those are projects that are ready to be deployed, to be built and implemented, but we are still open to have some sort of planning component within that if projects really want to go and think about the future at the same time that they're building the project that they pitch to the program. Again, partnerships are required. Tribes are exempt from that requirement as well. So now, what is it that we will be funding and how much? As I said, projects focus on infrastructure development. This includes, just to summarize, early infrastructure projects that support planning with a small demonstration component. Those will be in a range between $600,000 and $1 million per project. For the infrastructure bid or demonstration project, we are requiring that at least 25% of that go to that demonstration project, and the partnerships are appropriate at the very least 15%. We are making a requirement that part of this funding be allocated to partners because we believe that they need the resources to make sure that their participation is meaningful and focused. For the advanced infrastructure project, those that are ready for full implementation, the ranges that we're offering are between $2.5 and $4 million per project. Again, the infrastructure, we are hoping that 70 to 85% be the minimum, and that the rest be spent on other aspects to make sure that infrastructure happens. But again, partnership, we are hoping that at least 10% of that be allocated to the partners. And again, to ensure meaningful and active participation. Again, tribes are exempt from the partnership requirement. So right now, I like to tell you a little bit about our round 2 and where we are. During the summer, we conducted 10 community input sessions to let the public know what the main components of the application will be, our amounts, what we will be funding, for 2 reasons. The first one, so communities and potential applicants could start thinking about their ideas early on, and most importantly, to ask for feedback. Now, we have reporting back sessions. In fact, one is happening today. The application period, we are hoping to go live in the first quarter of 2026, and with the awards announcements happening by the fall. What we communicate all of our updates via our newsletters and social media, but really mainly by our newsletters. So if you have a few seconds now, please take your phone out, take a screenshot of this, sign up for our newsletter, and we will be able to provide regular updates to hear first when the program opens, and we also provide other resources and grants related to extreme heat. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that information. That was very, very interesting. Like I said, that was our last presenter. And right now, what we would like to do is, as I open up the breakout rooms, before we do so, we will appreciate it if you would all take a moment to take the survey and allow the presenters to go inside the breakout rooms and set up there so they can have you come in and talk to them. So right now the breakout rooms are open, but right now we would appreciate if you take the evaluation. The link is inside the chat right now, and I give you it'll be in the chat the whole time until we stop the meeting. So please take the evaluation, and this will allow the presenters to go inside the breakout rooms and prepare for you. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for attending our funding fair. We appreciate your participation, and we look forward to hearing from you.